Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Okay, so a lot of you have been asking, and I touched on this very briefly last night, about an organization that Leah Messer from Teen Mom 2 has been promoting on Instagram. The organization called Masters in Transformational Training, based out of Los Angeles, is what's called a large group awareness training. So a lot of you have been saying, is this a cult? Is it not a cult? What is this? Let's talk about it. Okay, so here's what Leah has been sharing on Instagram. She's been sharing some photos of her with some ladies saying Costa Rica has been amazing. But I'm really missing my babies. 16 Heaven, which is the hashtag for the organization. Photos with the people. A powerful, strong, trusting force we are. I love each and every single one of you. You can count on my world. Each one of you have changed my life and will forever be connected. I am powerful, connected, inspirational, leader. I love all of you. 16 Heaven, family, life changing. Visualize and create your reality. Blah, blah. Yes, my queens. I love all of you so much. So this is the organization, and she has been posting photos from Costa Rica for, I don't know, about a week, and it appears she has completed the final part of this program. So what is this organization? Well, it's a third generation of what we think of as large group awareness training. Large group awareness trainings are kind of rooted in the 1960s, and they are, I don't even know how to describe them. So here's what I was able to find. So MITT is a third generation of a large group awareness training. It's similar to another organization called Landmark Forum. This Landmark Forum is actually an organization I am familiar with because many of my best friends in college actually got sucked into Landmark Forum, which I absolutely believe is a cult, and it can forever change the dynamics in the friendships that I had. I actually had attended an informational session for Landmark Forum in the early 2000s, and I will someday tell you all about that in a live stream. But the tactics that MITT uses are very similar to Landmark Forum and equally as destructive and equally as expensive. And they come from a company called Mind Dynamics. So the first generation of the company was called Mind Dynamics. The second generation was called LifeSpring. LifeSpring actually ended up disbanding due to several lawsuits and wrongful death suits. Once LifeSpring, so Mind Dynamics starts at the top, and then it offshoots LifeSpring and EST. EST becomes Landmark, and LifeSpring becomes MITT and several other programs. So the founder of LifeSpring ends up selling the curriculum, which can be pre-packaged by other companies that basically put you through exactly what LifeSpring did in the 1970s and 80s. Now, the Washington Post, way back in 1989, wrote an entire expose on this company, accusing it of mind control, people having psychotic breaks, discussing lawsuits. For instance, one woman was actually told that asthma was something that she created, and when she was having an asthma attack, they were told her that she was inducing it herself. It was mind over matter. She ended up going into the parking lot, leaving the actual ballroom where the training was going on. She fell into a coma and died 5 days later. Another man that participated in this training was told people that he could not swim. He was forced to do a swimming exercise and he drowned and passed away. So essentially what it is these are workshops that you pay for, which are high intensity. The workshops can last anywhere from 5 days or 3 days to 7 days. And each company that offers one of these sorts of trainings, they seem to follow the same sorts of techniques. So they will keep people restricted into who they can talk to. They are not allowed to drink water or eat in the ballrooms when they're doing the trainings. Going to the bathroom and outside of a bathroom break or a break in the curriculum is not actually like, it's frowned upon, and people are berated if they have to leave the training to use the restroom. They are not allowed to drink water, even if there's a medical necessity. They're not allowed to eat, even if there's a medical necessity. They keep people in these settings for up to, trainings can start at 8 in the morning, and they can keep you until 2 in the morning, and then you start again at 8. So they keep people sleep deprived, hungry, thirsty, and it creates a sense of almost delirium. And they take people through trainings, which they promise will be transformational and allow them to get to the next step. But most of these trainings, how they're designed is that you walk into one training and they're selling you on the next training. And so you get to the first training and they're telling you have to buy into the program, you got to do this, you got to do that. You just got to listen to them. You just got to hear what they're saying. You just got to let go of everything you know. And then they scale down and they sort of pare down more complex advanced group trainings like Scientology, and they do very simplistic things like a lot of these organizations, specifically this one, uses the victimhood training, basically making everyone believe that you are not a victim of anything. Anything that happens in your life is a product of something that you've done. So if you became a victim of something, what was your fault in it? Were you, for instance, the woman that actually bought the curriculum LifeSpring and repackaged it as Masters in Transformational Training, her name is Margot. She actually was interviewed by GQ last year, and she told the person from GQ that if you have been raped, it's not so much that you're not a victim, but she would urge people to think about, what were they wearing? Were they too intoxicated? Should they have been in the place where they were at? Should they have done how did they contribute to their victimhood? It's crazy, okay? I hate these kinds of programs so much. They are so toxic. So, sorry, that's just my little break because I have experience with Landmark Forum, which is no bueno. Okay. So what is MITT? This is the organization that Leah has been participating in. Well, it's a program that offers a 3-tier structure for courses. The first tier is called the Introduction, which focuses on identifying your faults and issues in your personal life. The second tier is Advanced, and it allows you to earn certificates to move on to the next training. And it helps you to further the training you're learning by interacting with people in your life. And then the third tier is basically to make you a leader in the organization. And then basically the whole thing is a way for you to recruit more people into the basic program. So it's a grand scheme from start to finish of promising that you're going to learn training to improve with the buy-in that every time you are in one class, you'll need the next class to get better. So you start in the basic, but they dangle a carrot saying, well, you're only going to get part of it here. So if you really want to get better, you've got to go to the advanced. And then you get to the advanced and they're like, well, you're learning this here, but if you really want to get here, you got to go here. And then once you get there, it's now you're a leader. Now you need to bring your friends into this organization. You need to tell everyone about this. You need to promote this to everyone. It's very simplistic. It's just your basic scheme, self-help scheme. So here's what I actually found on the organization. And the person from GQ that actually talked about they did the first 5-day basic, and he said a lot of the exercises you put you into a victim mindset and then blame you for being there, including any trauma that you have ever been through. I honestly thought it would get better. And again, the rules are they're not allowed to have food or water. They're not allowed to say bless you when someone sneezes. They're not allowed to have side talk, so they cannot talk to one another unless as directed by a trainer. So it limits communication, and they're not allowed to sleep. They're supposed to stay until the very end, and then they get up very early in the morning and they have to start over again. And then their breaks and their coaching is typically done over lunch, so people don't have the opportunity to eat and drink enough. So it creates a sense of delusionalness in people because they're sleep deprived, hungry, and thirsty, and it gets people into a very vulnerable emotional place because of that heightened hunger and like you're delirious. And it creates a very intense experience, but it can also make people extremely vulnerable for like getting hurt, for going through, and they put you into traumatic situations. But then one person that did a video on it discussed about how they would put you into a very traumatic situation, but then instead of like after you're experiencing and discussing the trauma that's in your life, you just stay there and then you move on to the next thing. They don't provide you any skills or techniques to get through it. It's just do this exercise, which can bring up horrible memories, and then you just move on. In fact, several people that have gone through this have filed lawsuits for having gone through psychotic breaks after it, because they're not provided skills to deal with the memories that these types of training conjure up. So the sessions here range from $400 to $1,500, and they can last from a weekend to 5 days. Here's how they use things. They have things that make us, there's certain aspects of this that make it look like it's actually a cult, because they exhibit behavior control. They have extreme time constraints. Trainings can last from 5 to 12 hours per day. They cost hundreds to thousands of dollars. They, after the initial training, members are strongly encouraged to pay for and follow through with the next training. They manipulate your sleep, and they instill obedience and dependency and throughout the training. They also exercise what's called information control. The only way to achieve enlightenment for a new self-help is through the MITT program. They use deception by deliberately withholding information from you. They use excessive use of group-generated information and propaganda, and use of confessions to other people. They are also accused of using thought control. They use loaded language, all of the terminology for each training lesson, such as interactive discussions, dyads, mingles, games, small group exercises, closed eyes processes, sharing, interactions with the trainer, internalize the group doctrine, and hypnotic techniques. And this is not uncommon with what other types of organizations that have similar sort of programs. The most similar to this, like I said, is called the Landmark Forum. And I will say from my own experience, when I went to an informational session for this, we were brought into a very large ballroom that had seats all over and a stage. It was very plain in the ballroom. There was absolutely like nothing in there. There was a table in the very, very back with water, but that was it. We were told to sit in the very front. And then during the presentation, people were encouraged to stand up and share their most traumatic experiences with people they had never met. And they spent nearly an hour or two telling you about why you need this, why you need to do their next, like the informational session. So why do you need to pay the $500 to do the first program? And then they took us, after like a couple hours of sitting in a room where everyone is sharing their most deepest, darkest secrets, they take us into a small group room where they start recruiting us and telling us about how we need to sign up for the next training, and they're trying to get our credit cards in order to join it. I actually declined that. I did give them my phone number, but several of my friends who were flat broke ended up paying the $500 to do the next training. When I declined, I started getting calls, like insistent calls. I would say multiple times a day, of people from Landmark trying to get me to pay the $500 to go to the basic, telling me that my life wouldn't be the same without it, that I had to do this. I would be missing an experience with my friends. My friends would be going to a place that I would never understand if I didn't do it. It would change my friendships. I would be left out of this amazing experience. I told them I didn't have the money. They asked me to take a loan from a family member. They asked if they could call a friend of mine and get their credit card number. They literally would not take note for an answer, to the point where we had to block the number. That's how many times they called. Now, my friends that got sucked into this program, sadly, that person that told me that I would lose my friends, they were right, because my friends started using the loaded language from Landmark. They started paying thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars for the program, to the point that being around them was so hard, because the only thing they talked about were using language from the Landmark Forum, talking about their trauma, their rackets, their problems, and then going to the Landmark Forum to either teach or assist. And all of the programs through these types of organizations cost thousands of dollars to do them. And like Scientology, if you can't afford it, you can volunteer and get the classes for free. Now, I'm not sure if that's how MITT works, but I will show you what their actual course trainings look like from their website. So here's the actual website. And it says that the purpose of these trainings is to create responsible and creative world citizens through emotional intelligence education. What would be it like if you realized that you were happy, successful, loving, creative, powerful, and free, and that all of the power to create this possibility is inside of you? What would this world be like if every person in it took responsibility for their dreams? They would be building their life for years. Right now, you have an opportunity to stand up with your ceiling you've created and call it your new ground. So then they have they've got the basic training, which is like $500, the advanced course, which is like $11.95 in 5 days, and then the legacy program, which is $1,500. But after you get past the legacy program, don't you can do abundance and prosperity, art of acknowledgement, the champion training, coaching academy, corporate training, grace revealed, and all of these cost money. So if you were to say go pick the grace revealed, well, that's a 3-day workshop and it's $600. If you want to do Grace for Women, this is also a workshop that's 3 days and it's $600. There is the PhD program, which is not accredited. It's some sort of it says that it's a program to open the possibility to become a transformational trainer. So you have to pay if you want to become a trainer. They have ones on sexuality, which is $500. They have ones on a silent retreat, just being quiet, for $800. So every single aspect of this is a pay to play, a way to get you to do the next thing, and you end up spending thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to get enlightened, to get to the next step. And along the way, you become so entrenched in it that your entire life revolves around it. You lose friends because of it, because nobody else is as enlightened as you. This is the only way to the truth. This is the only way that you're going to get to be the better person. And it's funny because, not funny, haha, but when all of this was going on for me back in 2001, I told my friends they were getting involved with a cult, which is why I didn't want to do it. I saw them just last year, and I was sitting down with them at our 20-year, we used to all live together in college, and it was like our 20-year anniversary. And my friend Andy, who was like my best friend, he was just like, "Can I just say something?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "I kind of got involved with a cult. I'm sorry about that." It took over my friend Andy's life to the point where I could no longer really be friends with him. So, it's these organizations are very predatory. And the sad part is that not only do they promise this elusive change and empowerment, but none of this information that they're providing is really rooted in psychology. And the people that are teaching this have no business doing this. They don't have the background or education to do this. In fact, the founder of this organization is a former hairdresser. Not to knock hairdressers, but Margot, she is, according to the About section on this website, from Holland. She has a bachelor's in business. She moved from Holland to Spain and lived there for 3 years, came to America in 1970, and she studied, here in the States, she studied psychology, then worked as a counselor for 7 years, but also had a successful business as a spa and beauty institute. I don't know so much about the counseling. She did the LifeSpring program in 98. Now, her About section is the only place I've ever seen anything related to the psychology stuff. Everywhere else says that she was a hairstylist, owned a salon, wasn't working in counseling, isn't qualified to have this. And basically what Margot did is she took the LifeSpring curriculum and repackaged it and changed its name, because when she bought the curriculum, she was told by people that if she called it LifeSpring, no one would take it because of such bad press related to the 1989 article by Washington Post and all their outlets basically calling out this organization as a cult. She admitted to GQ last year that she literally changed nothing in the curriculum, just changed the name, and has somehow become a guru to help you become a better person as long as you keep buying her next class. It's kind of like Scientology, but a lot more simplistic and without the auditing. It's kind of, to be frank, I feel like these types of groups really prey on people when they're at their very lowest points in life, when more people are just sort of seeking an answer. They want to feel better. They want to feel empowered. They want to do something to feel better about themselves. And they get swayed into these groups because their friends convince them they have to do this. And that's how these groups sort of like manifest and grow, because they rely on the people that come into the scheme to bring others into the scheme. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme, except the people that are coming in don't actually make any money. They just keep buying. But the goal is that you have to keep bringing more and more people into the scheme. And then the people at the top of the pyramid, they make a ton of money, a ton. And then you can become a trainer if you pay them, and then you can maybe get paid a little bit if you do it. So it's a lot like, in some ways, Nexium. That's probably the more in the news. Nexium would be another sort of branch of this, the organization that was recently, the founder was actually convicted of numerous counts of sexual assault, fraud, Keith Raniere. So these types of organizations I would stay far away from. I hope that Leah doesn't get so entrenched into this, because, you know, on the surface, they do make people feel good, because that there's that invigorating, intoxicating feeling like you know the secret that nobody else does, that you have the path to move forward, that you feel empowered to take that next step in your life. But at the same time, you don't realize how this group will end up separating you from your friends, from your family, and from everyone. And your entire world will start revolving around bringing other people in to be with you. It's scary. I wish, I could go back in 2001 and have my friends not go into that, because that day after that intro, and they went and they did the weekend course, several of them continued on. And the more and more involved they got in Landmark, which again is an offshoot and very similar to what she's in, I lost them, and their lives became about Landmark. And it's, when they're in it, you can't tell them to get out of it. And you can't speak to someone because they'll tell you, well, you don't understand my language. You have to do this in order to be here with me. So word to the wise, don't join this group. Don't waste your money. And hopefully Leah doesn't get so far sucked in that she brings other teen moms along with her. If you want to learn more about it, you can also, there's a lot of resources out there right now. There's forums. The Cult Education Institute has a ton of information on organizations of large group awareness, and just different things that you should be considering before ever sort of, getting involved in one of these. If you're really seeking help and need sort of guidance, maybe the best place to start is with a licensed clinical therapist, rather than a guru who pretends like they know anything, but basically bought a curriculum from everyone else, repackaged it, and now is selling it to celebrities in LA. All right, you guys, I'll be back later. Bye.